some Scouse words.
I do.
The swear ones.
Yeah, I definitely do.
We've got Satara Murray with us, and I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about what's going on with the LFC women's team. Yeah, bit of a downer for that, but thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
She thought she was getting away from the Scouse accent, but then she comes back to
chance.
Austin and she hears it again.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're
exactly.
We're always a few yards away.
I love it.
So tell me a little bit of history about yourself, because obviously we know you played, for the Liverpool women's team, but you also, I know, played for North Carolina.
I did, yes. So I started my youth career with Lone Star Soccer Club. So it's the local.
Correction. You started at Wells Branch Soccer Association.
Okay. Right. I did. But I was at Wells Branch for maybe 2 years, and then I kind of shifted around. So yeah, I started off with Wells Branch, and then made my way over to Pflugerville, and then I ended up with Lone Stars, which they were CC United when I first started off, and then we merged with another club, and we became Lone Stars. So I played at Lone Stars from 05 when I was 11 up until when I graduated from high school at 17. I then played collegiately at North Carolina, winning a national championship, becoming an All-American for years of my life. And I was offered a contract through Liverpool, by Liverpool to continue to begin my professional career once my collegiate career was over. So once I finished up at UNC, and then I flew, a small body of water, and then began my professional career at Liverpool. And if you were to tell me when I first got out there that I'd be out there for 4 years, I would have told you no, because my first year was, like anything, it was quite the transition. How football is played overseas in England in particular is very different than how soccer is played over here in America. So I had to transition to a more technical, tactical side of things, rather than focus a lot on the physicality of how we played out here in the States. So it was hard. It was a transition through it. And so for my year and the I had an amazing time out there. I got a chance to see and experience a new way of life, be a part of a really amazing culture, and being part of Liverpool as a club, as an organization in itself, has so much rich history to it, that I was not very aware of when I first got out there. But of course, throughout my 4 years, you learn so much about it. And now I'm fully a supporter of Liverpool Football Club. So, but it was great. It was a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's definitely really cool.
Satara, you were there from 2015 to 2019. So you've seen, really, that's when Jurgen Klopp came in 2015. So you're really there at the genesis of this whole project that he's had, and which has culminated in the Premier League title this season. But
yeah,
I know you've been able to kind of witness that.
Yeah, it was really cool because I had just gotten there at the end of Brendan Rodgers, that era. And obviously with Jurgen coming in, he was what they deemed, he was the normal one. And it was like this whole big thing, him coming from Borussia Dortmund. So it was huge, but I don't think at the time when it all happened, we knew that it was going to turn into how big it is now. And obviously they're at the pinnacle right now of such a high place. So to see where it was in 2015, to see how they are right now in 2020, it's actually unreal. I actually can't believe how much it changed, and how, the talent that they brought in the last 5 years, and how that club as a whole, as an organization, has changed so much. So it was really awesome. It was really cool.
So what, go ahead, Steve.
No, I was going to say just that the, you know, watching the men's program flourish like it has, and then hearing that the women got relegated this season, that it has to be kind of sad to see that, because I know that even when you were there, you went through a few coaches in those 4 years. There didn't seem to be a real emphasis on a style of play or a structure, whereas the men's side did. And so, and even when we had the Anfield Wrap on about a month ago, they even admitted that we as a collective have not paid enough attention to the women's side of things, and that I know that they want to change it. So can you kind of, like, as you're watching the men be successful, and then you're seeing the stuff that's happening on the women's side of the club, you know, how does that work, you know, on a daily basis for you?
Yeah, that's actually, it's a great question. And I think it's a really important thing to point out, because that was always one of my biggest issues with Liverpool as a football club, because at times it felt like they had no idea that the women's team existed, and it wasn't until, I want to say, either it was like the 2016 season and my season in 2017, most importantly the 2016 season, where I thought the women's team had potential to continue to keep progressing to become one of the best teams in not only in the WSL but in Europe. But things happen, and all that talent left by 2018, and it was like, if we just had the resources and the stability to keep that talent, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So of course, it was extremely frustrating, because you see how much money they put into the men's side. They bought Virgil van Dijk, they got Mo Salah, they buy all this talent, Sadio Mane, for these insane prices. And it's like, can we just get a little bit of that money to the women's side to buy some of that talent? Because it's like the likes of the women's sides at Chelsea and Man City and Arsenal. Obviously, the reason why they are the best at that they are as good as they are, is because money buys talent. It's as simple as that. But we obviously cannot get that money on our own. Like, we obviously need the backing of the men's side, and I just felt like at times we definitely didn't have that. Now, with Peter Moore stepping in, the current CEO, I think he's making it his mission to make sure things like that change. But like, obviously, now that with the women getting relegated, it does shift that conversation ever so slightly. But when I left there in 2019, there was obviously still a huge discussion about, okay, well, what can we do as a club, as an organization, to make sure like the women's side is getting cared for? And we all laid out our grievances. We had so much things to lay out, and and I think they've changed it ever so much. I've been gone for over a year now, so I really don't know how much has changed. But just looking at certain things, things seem to be a little bit better. But at the end of the day, money buys talent, and until the men's side and the organization as a whole puts some sort of money into the women's side, they're gonna continue to keep being at the level that they're at. And that's unfortunate, because the men literally just won the Premier League, they won Champions League. I mean, the money is there. So I just don't get it. It literally is a discussion I can have all day, but it is frustrating to say nonetheless.
Well, I don't even understand, because the in the process of building a new training facility in Kirkby.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And the women aren't even involved in that.
Yeah, that is.
I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong.
It really is. And to be fair, and you know where the women are actually located right now? They're actually located they're at Tranmere. So we're on the other side of the water.
Yeah, you're in like a mud pit.
Yeah.
It
really is.
That pitch is probably one of the worst pitches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. We thought we were getting an upgrade from the Select Security Stadium in the rugby stadium. So, obviously we heard about the training facility getting restructured and the men moving from Melwood over there. And the main question was, well, where do the women fit into all of this? And Peter Moore came back and he was like, you guys are a part of the plan. It's just not right now. And of course, there's the question. Okay, well, when is that going to happen? If we're calling ourselves one club, everybody
Mm-hmm.
should be included into that new facility. You know, if fans are a butt about it, there really should be no question about it. And the fact that there's still this constant back and forth is crazy to me. It really is.
No, I mean,
Well, I heard that they were going to have you guys play at Anfield, but then you left the team, so they said, never mind.
They played at Anfield. They played Everton. They had a Merseyside derby at Anfield last season. I think Liverpool lost, if I'm not mistaken. But in my 4 years that I was there, I only trained at Anfield once, and that was when they added a new stand, and they needed to do some. They wanted to make sure the everything was like intact. So we trained in front of about 10,000 people, and to be fair, it was really cool. But that was the only time I actually stepped foot on Anfield. I mean, aside from when I signed, training was the only time that I did that. We were on there for maybe 40, 45 minutes, and that was it. But in my 4 years, we never, ever got the opportunity to play there. So that was unfortunate. So, and I was really pissed off when they played literally a year after I left. So I was like, okay, that's really cool. But it's all good. I'm glad they got the chance to do it.
Well, even this last summer in 2019, they made some inroads where they brought the women's team over with the men's team when they were doing their tour.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first time that's ever happened. So I mean, it just brings me back to the point. It's so unfortunate that that Peter Moore wants to do this stuff, and you're saying that they started doing this thing, and then they get relegated at the end of it. So it's like now you're taking 3 steps back when you're trying to go forward, and because now. How do you spend? How do you put the money into there if you're not going to get? Not that the gate receipts are that much, or any other kind of sponsorship rights.
Right.
So I mean, just dropping down a level, it can't help the cause there at this point.
It can't, and it's so unfortunate for them because I still keep up with the women's side as much as I can. While I was with Houston, obviously sometimes it was a bit hard because I'm obviously focusing on my own season, but I kept up to date with the women's side as much as I could, and of course, I'm looking at I was looking at certain games, I'm obviously looking at the tables, and the first question I have is like, what is going on over there? That is my first question. What is going on? Because as far as I can remember, a lot of the same girls that I played with when I was there we're still currently there, and so I was thinking. What's going on? Are they not meshing? And then I did watch a couple of games and they looked good. It's just, sometimes it was just, it's just them, it's just being unlucky. And unfortunately, but now that I honestly don't think they'll be in championship for too long. I think I think they have the talent to get back to the WSL. They just have to put the belief in, and again, this is where money comes from, but it's a really hard topic and subject to discuss because it's frustrating nonetheless. So we want to be just as successful as the men's side, of course. That's always our aim, but sometimes it's kind of hard to when you don't have the resources to accomplish that level of success.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be tough, because you still do, as a footballer, it's still your job,
Exactly.
to come in and play. But if your training facility's crap and where you play is crap, it's not going to give you a good sense of, pride. I wouldn't think, oh, I'm coming into work today, and our bosses really, we're kind of second rate. That's got to hit you, in the heart.
It does, yeah.
And it did open up mine and Steve's because, I watched the first team, I watched the under-23s, I've watched the under-18s. So I watched the academy. I've watched the women's team, I can say, probably 3 or 4 times, and that's just because I'm focusing on the men's team. But, as a Liverpool supporter, I do feel bad because, like you just said, we're all in this. You should be a family, and they should take some of that money and put it into the women's team and make them good, because the facilities to me make a team.
Yeah.
And your changing rooms and all, you know, if you're having changing rooms like you used to at the YMCA, that's just not right. It's not fair, you know.
Right.
And I
Right.
totally understand where a lot of the women are coming out just going, you know, it's this is a disgrace.
Yeah, it
You know,
definitely is.
and I don't blame them.
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy though, because my first 3 years there, like I said, we were at the Select Security Stadium in Witness, and I think coming from a university like North Carolina, where we had everything and everything was given to us, and you know how colleges are out here in America. And then going overseas to England and playing for a club like Liverpool, I literally expected the same thing like I did at North Carolina, because the back of my mind, I'm thinking it's Liverpool Football Club. They're one of, if not probably the biggest club in the world. Surely I wouldn't think I was stepping into there with the sort of resources that I had, or lack thereof. But that's exactly what I did. And Witness, after when I first walked into Witness, I thought it was a joke. I thought there's no way that we play here, we're training here, whatever, and we did. And the turf, if you've ever been, anybody's ever been to Witness knows that
Oh yeah.
There's no way that soccer should be played on that pitch. And it's got this turf that is not even turf. It's more of like the black beats. It's disgusting, and it's really one of those things where I can't believe I was completely content with that for 3 years. I can't believe any of us were content with that for 3 years. So many girls tore their ACLs, hurt themselves. I think playing on it for as long as I did, I ended up breaking my foot my second year. It's just it wasn't, none of it wasn't safe. And the fact that we were there for as long as Liverpool women's have been there, I was completely taken aback. And then obviously when we made the move over to Tranmere back in 2018, for us, because obviously the levels are already so low, moving to Tranmere, it was like moving to Anfield almost, because we felt like it was that much better,
Little
but
did you know.
Tranmere
It's
and
not
so,
much better.
we were it really isn't, but we liked it because obviously it was grass, but where we trained, it was very open, so it was very windy. We were close to the water. It would, it's Liverpool, so it was always raining, and it was horrible. And then going to the stadium itself for game days, the men would play the night before us, and then the pitch would be completely ruined by it was time for us to play. So we're playing on this, blotchy pitch with huge gaps in it, and mud is everywhere, and it was insane. And then I moved to the NWSL and playing for Houston, and our training facility at Houston Sports Park is world class. BVA is absolutely astonishing, and I was like, wow, this is what it's like to really be a professional athlete, But yeah, it definitely was not the same overseas in Liverpool for sure, which is really disappointing.
I'm surprised your physio wasn't just a bucket filled with water and a sponge, like the 60s.
Honestly,
here comes the physio.
Honestly, it was
but also I think Satara is like, but you also compare it to your peer group, the Man City team and Chelsea and Arsenal, and you see their facilities. So I'm sure it's kind of disappointing in hindsight to say, man, look at their facilities and what they've accomplished as a team, and what we could have if we would have had the support behind the club, right?
Most definitely, especially with City, because City, I think, really stands by them being one club. They even started that with their whole Twitter handle, like their Man City page both covers both the men and the women's side. It's not like Man City Women and Man City. Like, I think City really emulates that whole concept and that whole idea of being one club, one team, and that's why they're always so successful. They play at the Academy Stadium. they train. I think they have more of like a more closer relationship with the men's side. It's literally at Liverpool, it's like the men and then the women. We're like down here. But that's how it was for my 4 years that I was there. I think it's changed a little bit, maybe not drastically. But I think a lot of clubs need to take a page out of Man City's book in particular, because they really are the true definition of being one club, one team. And they really don't make their women's team feel less than. The women, for the most part, get everything that the men get. And that's exactly how it should be. It should be one equal level playing field, except for obviously the pay. But other than that, everything else, I think they're treated very similarly as the men. And that's how it should be. It should be no different.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, but when you see, I'm sure, you've even seen the training facilities for like the 10-year-olds, boys.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's insane. I mean,
Yeah,
that's got to piss
really
you off even more. You're like, 10-year-olds get treated better than us.
And the crazy thing is they get priority over us. I think we were training at the academy for a short amount of time. I think my second year or third year, I'm not too sure. And they literally prioritized it as like the academy boys. So like the U8s and the U10s and the U12s are getting, they have to go first, and then the women come. And I'm just like, are you joking? We literally we're professionals, and here we are. So it was crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I think until that gets sorted out, how can Liverpool women's team move forward?
Exactly. I really don't know. I've had this discussion with so many people, because people always ask me, what was your experience like when you were over there? And I think people get this notion that I think they think the women's team gets treated like the men. So they see the men being as successful as they are, and they assume, oh, you must have been treated just like the men. I'm thinking, and I tell them straight up, it's like, absolutely not. We literally are like at the bottom of the totem pole at that club, and it's horrible. But nonetheless, it's not. It's not to say that the experience, it took away from the experience, because I still had an amazing experience. Just a chance to even be a part of the club itself and wear that badge proudly. It doesn't get much better than that. But I just wish, in terms of just the resources, and truly, that's all for me. That's all I cared about, was just the resources, making sure ability to things that were just necessary for being a professional athlete, and that was it. So it wasn't.
Yeah,
So,
we've known that there's been this kind of disconnect between the men and the women's team, and as I alluded to when we had the Anfield wrap on, and they recognize that they haven't really spent a lot of time covering the women's, and they made it a point that they were going to do better in the future. So I think that the momentum is going to get there, and it may take a process, but I think that, having you come on and speaking about the experiences that you've had there and what it's going to take to get that, I think that's, a step in a positive direction. But I wanted to ask you a question, because you mentioned earlier that when you were at North Carolina, obviously, probably historically the best women's soccer program in the country. And then you go from, was Coach Anson still there when you were there?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay, so and by far the most accomplished women's coach in collegiate history. So you go from that atmosphere where you're getting the best of the best in the United States, and probably some international players as well coming in. And then you go to Liverpool, and you said that you had to kind of change your mindset from being a physical player to more of a technical player. Can you kind of expound on that? Because, when people think of North Carolina, they're like, they're getting the best technical players. But then you're saying that's even a step up into what your experience was once you got to the Liverpool team.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, so of course, North Carolina, when they recruit they obviously are looking for several different attributes that you can bring to the team, physicality, technical, tactical, whatever the case may be. But we were, for North Carolina, what we were notoriously known for is just running, running, and running. Like, we just press for 90 minutes straight. That's what we're known for. Our physicality, our constant press, and that's that. When I moved to Liverpool, it was, and I'm not the most technical player in the world. I'm a defender, so naturally I'm just not technical. But going
I've seen you.
over,
You're technical.
Neither is David Luiz.
That's right. Hey, I've seen Satara with the ball at her feet. She's more technical than David Luiz. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I've improved actually drastically over the last year, so hopefully I am a little bit better than David Luiz.
Hey,
But
I tell you what,
yeah.
you keep training with Fierce, and you're gonna get somewhere.
You're right. You're right. But yeah, I had to. I didn't really girls in England and Europe in general, they are just very sophisticated with everything with the ball at their feet. That was one of the biggest things that I realized, and I was completely taken aback because, for the most part, when I was here, how you beat a player is just kick the ball past them and you run. If you have athleticism, you've got mostly everybody beat. So when I went to England, I realized that all these girls were so technical, and I was like, what is going on? And they used to just zip the ball around me, just like I was a mannequin, like I wasn't even there. And it was hard because, I'm not used to that. I'm used to a more physical, a little bit, I wouldn't say less of possession, but not really, there's not much emphasis on it. But these girls they're very sophisticated in everything it is that they do. So how they approach games, and it became very known quite early on when I first went out there that I was a really physical player. So a lot of the times when teams would come up against me, they will try to exploit me by, having the forwards come up against me and, doing, what they do overseas. They dive or they really play it off, Academy Award sort of theatrics. And it was so frustrating because I'm thinking that's not how we play it in America. Like, you would have to do everything in your might to try to knock somebody off the ball or knock somebody down. And here it was, girls were very smart about everything it is that they did. And I could not get used to it. And, it's very possession based, keeping the ball, moving the ball around with purpose. And I couldn't get on that level. My first year, I really struggled with it as well too. I was playing as a center back, which I hadn't played in 4 years because I played as a fullback in college, and so I had to transition as a center back, and I'm doing everything as a fullback would do in the center back position. So it completely threw my game off altogether in that first year. So, but by my second year, I think I just needed that first year to get my feet wet, to get a little bit more comfortable with how they played, and I became so accustomed to it by my second year. I was really, I was good to go by my second year. On the flip, coming back here to the NWSL, it was like, okay, I had to make that switch again to that physical quick, because everything is played here at like 1,000 miles per hour. So when I came back to the NWSL, I struggled once again because I was like, oh my God, the game is being played at 10,000 miles per hour. I have no idea what's going on, So yeah, it was definitely hard. So to transition to like one way of playing and then have to transition back to another way of playing, it's just crazy, all crazy.
It's similar, I think, in the way that when Premier League players come to the MLS too, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the men's side,
exactly.
or when we had, Steven Gerrard came and Kuehl and all the other MLS players or the Premier League players thinking, this is going to be a step down, but it may be technically a step down, but the physicality and the pace seems like it is faster than they really give it credit for when they're talking about it or watching it on TV.
Exactly. Absolutely. I think people say that the MLS is, Premier League players come over to the MLS, to, end off, cap off their career. But I think you need to give the MLS a little bit more credit than what's due, because it is really quick and very physical out there, which is like the complete opposite of how it's played in the Premier League, in England. So yeah, I think, yeah, technically maybe not as sophisticated, but it's still there. But then you still have that, and then you have to add on to the physicality and the pace of it. It's crazy. And I think, I know Steven Gerrard was, with the Galaxy for maybe a year, and I get it. Like sometimes just adjusting to the culture in America and the level of play is so different. So I completely get it. That was the same thing for me as well too.
Well, we saw Steven Gerrard, right, Daza, and when he came down to Houston to play, and let's just say that the game was really, really fast for him.
It was crap. just say
and that's
what
a nice
you
way
mean.
to say it.
It was crap. Because actually, it was the first MLS match I'd ever gone to watch, and it was just bizarre to see somebody who I had looked up to, play in America, and yeah, Stevie just looked lost. He totally looked lost, and then I just went. It's one of those where at that point in time I was like, is this where footballers go to die? Is the MLS? Because I just really wasn't accustomed to just seeing because it was fast, and Stevie was way off the pace, and then just to see Gerrard barely touched the ball. He did a couple of good passes, but that was it in 90 minutes. So yeah, it left a bad taste in my mouth. Just for that. I mean, I've watched more MLS games now. I'm still on the outskirts. Because I'm just used to Premier League, so I'm slowly trying to get into it. Because
right.
Yeah, I'm on the fence.
Yeah.
It'll be a while because it's a tall fence, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet. I'm dipping my toes in the MLS waters.
It'll be 1 year, not a while. It'll be 1 year when Austin FC starts playing. He'll be right there with everyone
I'm
else.
gonna take my kiddos. Definitely, Austin's been gagging for a professional football team, and I think it's great that it's coming because already sold out. That's insane. All the tickets. But yeah, I'm looking. I'll take my kids. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice because there are a lot of people over here. Obviously, we all talk about this on the podcast. That are Liverpool fans that won't ever be able to go to Anfield. Now, if we have the Austin FC stadium and Liverpool start doing the US tour again, hopefully they'll come to Austin, and then those fans can actually see the Liverpool team. So I think that's great.
Definitely.
That's only a positive for the fans. So I want to ask you, what's one of your memorable moments playing for Liverpool?
Oh man.
Not playing at Widnes.
Okay. No. Absolutely not.
It's a nightmare.
I would say absolute nightmare. I would say I have two. One was for my playing time when we went off to London and played Arsenal. They were top of the table, maybe first top two, top three. And we went there and we beat them. And it was one of the most exhilarating games of my entire life. And it was unreal. And then my second memory is definitely Champions League game against PSG. Oh my God, that was at Anfield. It was one of the coolest experiences ever. Neymar was playing and so was Kylian Mbappe. And it was this back and forth. I think Liverpool won maybe 3-2.
Yeah.
So it was when he did the whole eye thing, it was sensational. Because the seats that we had were literally unreal. It was right behind the goal, and it was that was probably one of the coolest experiences. Because I've been to quite a few games while I was out there, so but there was nothing like literally going to that game and being out there, because some of the games that I've been to, we get tickets, so like we're in a box, so you don't really get that chance to, feel the atmosphere and feel like the energy. So actually being out there and seeing it and being a part of it was actually one of the coolest experiences of probably my life. So when people ask, I'm just like, definitely the PSG game. And then, well, I wasn't at this game, but the comeback for what cup was, what game was it? I forgot for what cup, when they beat Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, that was for Europa.
Europa League.
Is Europa League, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that, and just watching that was actually one of the coolest things ever too. So yeah,
were you at the stadium then?
Top three. No, I actually wasn't. We got tickets to go to it, but I think that's when my foot was broken, so I was a little all over the place. So I watched it at home, and the energy, I mean, it was insane. I mean, just literally watching it, I had chills. Like thinking about it right now just gives me chills. It was so cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah, we were at Bill McCabe's, I think, for that game, and when at the end, Lovren scores that goal, and the whole place goes wild. But I mean, so to be there on a European night against PSG, that has to be amazing. I've been there for a couple, but there is Europa, so it wasn't really the Champions League. I know Darren's been to quite a few games when it's a Champions League, so it's a different experience, I would imagine.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, especially, definitely Champions League is just a different, it's just a different level, because I've been there for like just normal Premier League games. So the energy, I mean, it's always so insane, but the energy in comparison to like Champions League, in comparison to like just a normal league game, it's just like night and day. But then again, any game at Anfield is always incredible. I mean, I can't believe I actually got the opportunity to be a part of that, to even get a chance to even go to a game at Anfield, or several games at that, and literally watch the greatest football club in the world play. It was unreal. So, but yeah, and I think there was so much, hype and talk about, especially for that PSG game. There was so much, hype about it beforehand. So, and seeing that it lived up to the hype was just unbelievable.
Well, I mean, we'll never get to play for Liverpool. I mean, Dara right now, he'd put a wig on if he can go play for the women's team. But it's, but I mean,
I'd just put a wig on.
Yeah, well, on the next podcast, come back, he'll have a wig on. But it's just, it's so funny because we're so ingrained in it. We talk about it all the time. We watch it, and then you lived it. You played there, and we're just like kind of living through you, and having met you personally, a couple years ago, it's like. And when I first met you, and you played for Liverpool, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And and still, I'm just very excited to, whether it's a current player or an ex-player, we bring legends here to Austin and we talk to them. And you played there. I can get the same feeling speaking to you than I do, speaking to David Faircloth or Stevie Nicol or one of them. Someone that has played for them and has been part of have put the shirt on, and that's what all of us out here that are listening to this podcast, we'd give our left leg just to put the shirt on one day and have the Lyrebird on our chest, right? And play for the team, no matter at what level. So it's
exactly. That's exactly what it. Yeah, that's what it was for me. Like obviously, I'm not gonna actually sit here and tell you guys who I supported before Liverpool, because I'll get absolutely crapped on. But
I know, so I won't tell your secret.
Yeah. I won't expose that. But I think there's something special about putting that shirt on and representing that Liverbird, and representing not just the club but the city of Liverpool in general. And I didn't realize that until maybe my second year, when I realized that there truly was something super special about not just the club but the city itself. And I don't have one bad story about Liverpool as a city, because it reminds me so much of Austin. So I think that's why I became so comfortable living there, because I was like, it's home for me now. It's like my actual home in Austin. And the people are so friendly, and when the people that support Liverpool Football Club, their whole heart and soul and mind is into it, and there's nothing like it, and I think that's why for me, it never crossed my mind to ever leave Liverpool to go to another club in the WSL, because I genuinely don't think there's any club or organization like Liverpool. So that's why for me I stayed there for as long as I did, because it really became a part of me and a part of who I am. And it'll always remain like that until the day I die. So it really was an absolute pleasure and an honor to play for such an amazing club, most definitely.
Oh, I love that. That's just, that should be a plaque, what you just said. No, I absolutely love it. I think that's, that embodies like the players, the fans, obviously the manager as well. Like it's like we were speaking before as well, you'll never walk alone actually means something,
Exactly.
like, and Scousers, not only because, I'm from there, but the biggest hearts in the world, they and friendliest. They're just like, I love it over here, but I miss home. It's one of
Definitely.
those, I've got a better life over here than I would back home, but I do miss it.
Definitely.
And
I do too. I definitely do too. I always get asked, do you miss it? I miss it all the time. I really do. It's just a different way of life, and it's a simple way of living life, and I think that's what I enjoyed about it the most, for sure.
So, like, when you told your mum, like, you're gonna move to Liverpool, what did she think? Was that is that the first time you've ever been out the country?
No, I've been all over the place. But my mom is actually English. She's from down
she's from
south.
London.
She's from London. Yeah, she's from London. So she's posh,
she talked like that. All right then, come on.
So now you can kind of pick. You can kind of guess what team she supported before Liverpool. Now.
Yeah.
Well, it depends which part of London.
She's from Hackney, so she was definitely a Tottenham fan growing up. But yeah, so there's
poor mom.
But
poor mummy.
I know, right? But yeah, she was obviously super jazzed about me going to her home country, and I have dual citizenship through her. So, England is home for me as well too, I guess. But she was super, super excited for me to go over there, and it actually gave her an opportunity to go back to England to visit years ago, like as she did. So she loved everything about it. We were literally just talking about it tonight, how I should have never left Liverpool in the first place. But obviously I needed a new challenge. I needed to, I thought I needed a new challenge, and I thought the grass was greener on the other side coming back over here to the States. But
the grass is greener than
Widnes
and Tranmere.
It is, but in terms of everything else, the other aspects of it, there was so much more stability playing in England, and that's what I miss about it. I just miss the culture and my ex teammates from over there, but nonetheless, but she was definitely, when the whole offer came through the middle of my senior year at UNC. She was ready for me she was so excited for me, because I think for her, she knew it'd be a really good experience for me. At the time, I didn't think it was going to be a good experience. I was like, I don't want to leave home and go 5,000-6,000 miles away from what I'm used to. But mother's intuition, I think she knew it was going to be good for me. I think she knew I was going to have a really good experience out there, and she was absolutely right. She absolutely nailed it. So that's why I never doubt her. But yeah, it was great. I definitely miss it though. I really do.
Can you take us inside when you went over there? Kind of take us inside what the life of professional female player is. Did you guys have to share a flat? Did you share cars? How does that work?
Yeah, so actually my first 3 years there, I lived in a house. My first year, I lived in a house with 3 other of my teammates. We lived in a house. It wasn't like a typical house that I'm used to here in the States, where everything is like 10,000 square feet. It was a bit smaller. My room was really small, but you know, it was whatever. And then my next 2 years, I lived in a house that was a lot bigger, but there were 6 of us in the house. So as you can probably imagine, there was a lot of energy in that household. But it was, you know, it was great. And then my final year, we moved to these really amazing high-rise apartments, actually on the waterfront, in the city center, that were just absolutely world class. So that was cool. Typically, we wake up. Most days, our training sessions started at. We had to arrive by 10:30, and then we start prehab, go out and train. If we had gym, we'd come in after training, eat, then do gym, and then be gone, and then have the rest of the day to ourselves. So, you know, so that was pretty much about it. There was, you know, it's not anything, you know, exciting. It's not, you know, anything crazy. A lot of the girls were English or from the UK. So for the most part, most girls had their own cars. And because I do not hold a UK driver's license, I couldn't really drive over there. But I actually did get a car my final year there, which I was desperately needing because I didn't have a car for my first 3 years. So that was really stressful, having to constantly depend on other people to get me from training or to the grocery store or whatever the case may be. Because I'm a very independent person. So that taking that independence away from me really sucked for the first 3 years. But, you know, just like anything, you get used to it. And that's pretty much about it. It's, you know, it's not like, you know, it's not like the men where we have these lavish houses or these, you know, these amazing cars and this great lifestyle. We don't get, you know, sometimes we'll go out in the public and people will recognize us, but for the most part, we can just walk out normally, live our lives and just, you know, just go about our day. So that was pretty much about it.
Yeah,
You know,
go
go ahead.
about your day. Go about your day playing for Liverpool Football Club. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
You know, Darren just wants to know what was your favorite food and where it was. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh God. You know what though? I love this question because I don't want it, you know, I think people are wanting me to say, oh, like the food there was horrible. I found comfort in quite a few foods out there. Carbonara and pasta was like one of my favorite meals. I love a nice proper roast dinner. My teammates got me into that, so that for me was just like it was like Thanksgiving. So I just always was into that. But yeah, I just, you know, I cook my own food for the most part, so I try to get a little bit of my American culture sort of comfort foods, and try to find them and try to recreate some dishes
You ever
that
cook
my
for
mom make.
Did you cook for your teammates?
Sometimes I definitely did, and they loved it. They were like, "Oh, this is how you guys eat in America," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is how we eat in America." So it was always really, it was cool. But and then sometimes they cooked for me as well too, and I'd be like, "Oh, so this is how you guys eat in England? I like it." So it was always a nice trade off. So it was really cool.
Yeah, not all our food is bland.
I know, I know. Trust me, I realized that, but there were some where I was just like, I can't do this. I really can't do this. But you know, you learn how to just live with things and just get on with your life. So that's what I did.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you know, as being an American out there, I'm sure it was. Was it the same mindset on the women's side that it usually is on the men's side, where you're not getting the respect and the credibility that as a professional athlete you should, having made it to that level? Because you know there's that mindset even to this day, and like you see it currently with Pulisic. You know,
Right.
a lot of fans don't give him the credit that's due to him, even though he's playing in the hardest league on one of the top teams, but he's an
Right.
American. So there's always going to be that mindset about him. Did you feel that on your side, on the women's side?
Not really. Maybe a little bit more so my first year there. And I think the reason I felt that was because I wasn't playing up to par and playing like how I know how I play. So I think some people probably question whether or not I was good enough or whether or not I could actually make it in the WSL. Um, and I made it. I made it a mission during my off season after my first year to make sure that I came back and most importantly proved myself right that I belong in the WSL. But it wasn't ever this blatant, oh, she's American, she can't hang with she can't hang with the big dogs. It was never anything like that. And I'm thankful for that, because if that was the case, that'd be demoralizing, because I think that's so wrong. Like you just mentioned with Christian Pulisic, I think he's actually putting in a shift with Chelsea, and I think he's definitely underrated. But I think he's finally starting to gain and earn that respect that he rightfully deserves, because he's proving and showing people, listen, just because I'm an American doesn't make me less than. I can hang, and I'm proven that in the last 2 games that I played. So I think that is a horrible way to go about things, and I'm mad that's something that he himself even has to go through, because he's so young. I think that's messed up. The kid is literally doing something that a lot of Americans will never get the opportunity to do. I think to be an American, to come over to the Premier League is huge. I think one of his national teammates, DeAndre Yedlin, plays for Newcastle, if I'm not mistaken. I know I think he's, at times have had that struggle as well too. And I think it's so unfair. But no, to answer your question, the women's side, I've never personally experienced, and if I did, and it wasn't blatant and it wasn't, super, in my face. But yeah, it's not like that at all on the women's side, thank God. So hopefully no woman soccer player that's American goes over and ever experiences that, because it's just not cool. It really isn't.
Now, do you think like more American footballers, women, should play over there to get the experience and then come back?
100%. I literally suggested so much to, like, especially my teammates that I played with at Houston that were rookies last year, because I got so many questions last year, because last year was my first season in the NWSL. So I, along with a few of our rookies that came in, we were all in the same boat. This was our first time playing in the NWSL, playing in this league. So, a lot of them questioned. They were like, oh, like, Sat, where did you play prior to this? I was like, oh, I played overseas in England at Liverpool. And they were like, what? That's so cool. You get the whole, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm just like, yeah, it was actually pretty sick. And they're always like, well, do you think it's something that I should do? Or I should look into? I'm like, yes, go overseas, get that experience, see a different way of life, experience a new culture, because I think in our careers are not very long. And I think and I've been a pro for about 6 years now, 5 years. And in that 5 years, I've seen and experienced and done so much. And I always recommend it to the younger generation, because you just never know what sort of doors can open for you when you go overseas. And it gives you an opportunity to see football being played from a completely different lens than how it's viewed here in America. And I've always, now that I've done it, I've lived it and I experienced it, I'm a huge advocate for, yes, I do highly recommend going overseas, especially if you can't catch a break here in the NWSL. Most definitely go overseas, do something different, get to a place where you can enjoy the game again and have fun with it. Because that's exactly what I got the chance to do while I was over there. So definitely for like the younger girls who are, in college, on the brink of getting out of college, graduating, and then looking into playing professionally, definitely recommend overseas. If you can do it before playing in the NWSL, I highly recommend. Or even if you do play in the NWSL and it doesn't go too well, definitely go overseas, most definitely. I literally can't emphasize it enough. I think it's a really good experience.
Do you think you'll ever go back and try and play back in England?
No, I definitely don't. I've gotten this, and I think because I was out there for so long, I've done it. I lived my my early 20s there, so it was great. But now that I'm on the other half of my 20s now, I'm on like the later side of it. I really just want to, I'm wrapping up my career quite shortly, so I'd rather be domestic. So once everything is done, everything it is that I want to do after my professional career, it's here in America.
Gotcha.
But I'll definitely go back over there and visit. My mom and I want to go next year. We were trying to go this year, but obviously with COVID, can't do it. But we definitely want to go back next year because I left behind so many great family and well, a lot of my family's there, so much great family and friends. I made some lifelong friends over there that I definitely want to go back and visit. So it definitely is a mission to go out there next year, no doubt.
You know, Satara, a couple of years ago when you were here, you helped coach some young girls through some summer camps, and I can you elaborate on what you're seeing at that level at the U10, U11 here, and maybe what you saw overseas, or do we have the players coming up? Or I mean, I know it just Austin. We're just talking about Austin, but I think at a national level, you think that our successes at the senior side will continue like they have in the past, couple World Cups.
Right. So there wasn't, well, obviously and when I helped coach with the girls a couple of years ago, obviously seeing what Nick was doing and with the emphasis on technical and having that technical side of things and really focusing on that was super crucial, and I found very important and a really good thing to focus on. I didn't really see much of the youth side on the girls side at Liverpool. And now that I think about it, it's a bit odd. I did a couple appearances here and there where I got a chance to interact with girls who, that were young, that were coming through the system, that were, that were very good. But there, and as weird as it sounds, we never really got a chance to interact that much with girls at the youth level. But if I can, I think what we're doing here in the States that, obviously, they start at this young age and then they continue to keep progressing is, I think the difference between like when I was, 10, 11 to like how 10, 11-year-olds are going about training now, there's definitely more of an emphasis on like a tactical side of training that I don't think I necessarily got when I was that age. And I can't emphasize that enough because, you can have the athleticism, you can have the, you can have you can run for days or whatever, but at some point, like people, like other girls eventually catch up with you. Now, if you are ahead of the game, technically, tactically, you can read the game, the game inside and out, there's no way that anybody can hang with you. And it's as simple as that. And I think that's kind of what happened. That's what you kind of see with some of the girls on the national team. They peaked at a certain age, like say 16, 17, and now everybody else is coming up and meeting up with them and then eventually surpassing them. It's because I think there's been an emphasis on focusing on like the technical side of the game, that I don't think was emphasized when I was growing up, 20 years ago. So I think that is in England. I'm not too sure. Obviously, like I said, they obviously are very good with they're very good with their feet on the ball. Like they are super technical out there, and I think that obviously is learned from a really early age. So I think what America is now doing is what England has been doing this whole time. And just European countries in general have been doing this whole time. So I think now we're starting to see a little bit of a similarity between the States and teams, in Europe and other parts of the world as well too.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I had a thought in my head and it just went.
No, I was just going to follow up that because you can kind of see that when like the French national team, the women's side, the way they play, and it's so elegant. And I mean, if you're like watching it from afar, you couldn't tell if it was men or women playing because they're just so technical, the way they possess the ball, and they have all the tricks. And I think that the rest of the world has caught up to the United States in that regard, where we, like you said, won on our fitness and physicality, and I think that's a new thing that they're trying to emphasize now, and it's going to be very interesting, on the women's side, that as the talent pool, enlarges with all the African nations and the South Americans, pouring money into the game, that it'll be very interesting to see how the U.S. women fare. I mean, obviously, England, the last World Cup, they were they were up there too. So I mean, you see the
Definitely.
progression, you know, where they weren't like that even 4 years before that. They weren't
Right.
very good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most definitely. Yeah.
I I mean, like, it's great, you know, to have like the US women's team, you know, do so well in the World Cup, because that has, you know, made that little, you know, 7-year-old girl that was watching going, one day I can actually, you know, go out there and play.
Right.
I think it's same in England. You know, what the more the women's team does well, the national team, the more you see these young girls actually want to be footballers. And 10 years ago, you wouldn't even really dream, you know, about that. So it has come a long way. Um,
It,
I mean, all
it
you have to
definitely
do,
did.
all you have to do is, like, you know, this past Women's World Cup had millions of viewers. You know,
Right.
I think this past World Cup was the highest viewing for women's football. So I mean, it's only going to just get bigger. That, you know, back
Exactly.
to the you know, Liverpool as well. Like, they have to do something, and they have to do it really quickly. You know, for the women's team, because I think you have been let down, and that is a sad state to you know, think that, you know, Liverpool have kind of forgotten the women's team. You know, so I hope they get their act together, and, you know, get the women's team back in the, you know, from the championship, because that's not where Liverpool belongs. You know,
Right.
so yeah, it seems like it shouldn't be a really tough road. I mean, you know, it does boggle my mind, like, you know, obviously with the pandemic and everything, you know, Liverpool, the men's team are being a bit, you know, with the transfers and everything. But FSG
Mhm.
do have money
They
that,
do.
you know, a couple of mil to the women's team would go a long way.
It
You know,
really would. Yeah. It really
especially
would. It,
your training facilities. You know, obviously getting a good pitch as your home base is probably the priority. I would think. You know, but, you know, there's just not a level playing field, so to speak. And you know, I would uh,
yeah.
like to see, you know, them push more for the women's side, because it's only going to get better. You know, more and more kids are wanting to play football. You know, because
Right.
all you really need, you know, compared to a lot of other sports, all you need is a pair of boots and a
Right.
football. You know,
Exactly.
the only thing that's really expensive, especially over here, is probably the academies. You know, where it's costs thousands of dollars to, like, the Barcelona academy. You know, it does get expensive, but at the end of the
Right.
day, it's a pair of boots and a football.
Right.
You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
so yeah. Well, I'm glad you know, it's 4 seasons, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm glad all 4 seasons weren't crap.
Yeah.
You know, and
They
you did
really,
score 2 goals, right?
I did. I did. Yeah, that was actually really cool. Yeah, yeah, I like I said, I would never trade that experience for the world, because even though there are definitely some things that the club needs to work on for the women's side, that itself, I didn't allow that stuff to take away the experience, because just the experience itself is literally priceless. You literally can't put a price on it, you know, no matter how you look at it. So I completely, and I'm one of those people that it takes a lot for me to get angry or mad or whatever the case may be. So for me to do that for 4 years and not even bat an eyelash, I'm just like, that's just who I am, you know. I think for me, if I'm getting an opportunity to do the thing that I love the most, while playing for this club and in the cities, I'll do it, you know, regardless of how the other stuff is going, you know, how the other issues are going on. For me, it's like, as long as I can go out there, play the way that I play, try to inspire the next generation the best way that I can, and just be the best possible version of myself on and off that pitch. That's, for me, it's all that matters. But I definitely agree. I think there definitely needs to be some, some tinkering with, with the whole club, trying to feed in a little bit more money into the women's side, because ultimately if they want to get back to WSL, you have, there's levels to it. You know what I mean? You can't just like snap and then you're back in the WSL.
Mm-hmm.
You got to win this. You got to win these games in the championship. You have to. One of my best friends, she plays for a team in the championship, and she used to play for Liverpool as well too. And we were chit chatting about Liverpool getting relegated and all this stuff. And I was talking to her, and I was like, Bex, I really don't see Liverpool staying down in the championship for too long. And because obviously I've never played in the championship, so I really don't know how the level of play is. But my friend was telling me that, apart from about 2 or 3 teams, championship is, the level of play is actually very good. And she, it's not going to be a walk in the park for Liverpool. Like, they're actually going to have to go out there and put in a shift and work hard in order to win these games, and beat these teams fair and square. Teams are not just going to roll over just because you're Liverpool Football Club. That's not how it works. If anything, teams are going to want to beat you more because you are Liverpool Football Club. So I'm actually very intrigued to see what happens with them in championship. I wish them the best of luck. I really, really hope that they get back to the WSL sooner than later, because that's where they belong. But at the end of the day, you have to fight your way back up there, just like everybody else in championship is doing. So hopefully they do just that.
Well, Steve will make a call to Mr. Moore, tell him to stop being so stingy.
What? Peter has actually been Peter has actually been incredible with since he came on board at Liverpool. He has been actually very, very incredible with helping get more into the women's side, and he made it very clear from the get-go that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and things are progressively getting better. It's not going to happen overnight. So I know Peter's definitely been he's the type of person that will do everything in his might to make sure both his men's team, his women's team, and his academy teams are all good and comfortable. And he made that very clear when he came on board. So, and the fact that he's the CEO of such a club and he's had personal meetings with the women's side, I mean, I think that shows you what kind of person he really is. So, but like, it's just going to take some time. I think he's made it to the point where the women's team won't be forgotten anymore. He's making that so it won't happen anymore. So, all credit to him though, because I think he's trying to make a change. But like I said, it's not one of those things that just happens at the snap of a finger. It takes a lot of time. So, yeah.
Well, I think Debbie will make sure he doesn't forget the women's team. So, his wife is, she's very prescient in the club, and you could tell that she's very dedicated to it as well. They came to our pub a couple of seasons ago. They flew straight from Munich over to Austin, and Peter had his PowerPoint, and he was just showing the structure of the club and how it was going to be. And, that he has a plan, right? You don't get to be that successful. You don't get to run EA Sports and stuff like that without knowing what you're doing and having a plan. So I have confidence that he's going to right the ship on the women's side, just as they've done on the men's side.
Exactly. I wouldn't doubt that, because like you said, you don't become that successful without a plan. And I think he definitely has one, but it's just a plan that just takes a little bit longer. I know, because the women have been dealing with it for so long, they're at a point now where it's like, we no longer have patience for it. We want to see change. We want to see it happen quickly, but it just takes time. And, I think it's, apart from them getting relegated, I think certain aspects have gotten a little bit better since I've been gone. And that's only been a little over a year. So the fact that so much can kind of occur within a year and a half is really good. Now, the next step is to get them back into the WSL. And then once they get to that point in the WSL, make sure that they're successful and winning and, qualifying for Champions League once they get back into the WSL. So hopefully, I'm pretty sure he has that all planned out, but that's just kind of how I look at it. So,
yeah. I think he sent me a text and said, hey, we got rid of Satara's weekly wage bill. Now we can invest into the club.
Yeah, because it's totally on as much as the men are making. Totally. No way. Yeah.
So, what advice do you have, for like parents, with kids that are about 8, 9, going in to training? Because I've noticed, like, because one of my mates is the coach for British Academy of Soccer here. And I've coached with him, and I've just noticed a lot of the parents are very angry on the sidelines. Like, and they get too involved, and I think some of the kids, kind of see how their parents act, and that pushes them away from football. Do you have like advice?
So much advice. But my main word of advice is please do not put pressure on your kids. They're 8, 9, 10 years old. They don't need the pressure. They're not going to be a part of Barcelona tomorrow. It takes time. They're at that age. The point of it is to have fun with it. When I was 7, 8, 9, 10, I was having so much fun with it. My mom didn't put any pressure on me. She wasn't one of those angry parents. She just allowed me to have fun with it. And I think that's what parents have to allow their kids to do, is just to have fun. Let their kids be kids. Because so many parents want their kids to be the next Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, or for the women's side, so many moms and dads want their daughters to be the next Alex Morgan or Crystal Dunn or whoever the case may be. And in my opinion, that may not necessarily be their path. That may not be who they're going to be. They're going to be their own person. But that's not going to show at 8, 9, 10 years old, and just let your kids have fun. Let your kids enjoy soccer. Let them enjoy being kids. Enjoy the orange slices and the Capri Suns, and going out there with their friends and laughing and giggling and having fun. Because once you get to like a certain age, I think once you get to about 13, 14, then that's when you kind of have to hone it in and kind of figure out whether or not this is something that can take you to the next level. Can you play collegiately, or if not, But at such a young age, I think so many kids, especially like with this generation, because this generation of parents now are people my age. So now we're putting all of this pressure on our kids to be the next best LeBron James or whoever the case may be. And it's like, no, just let your kid be a kid, because they're going to end up growing up and being resentful towards you and resentful towards the sport, and you don't want that. You just want your kids to go out there, have fun with it, and just enjoy themselves. Allow them to just be them unapologetically. Because that's actually been coming through the ranks as well too. Especially when I was in club, so many of the girls that I played with, it was crazy because I think so much pressure that the parents put on them, and I'm just like, what the heck? That's not fair. Like, you just need your child to just be a child, and that's that. So word of advice, just let your kid be a kid. That's it. Just let them have fun. And if they find, and if you allow that to happen, I think eventually at some point your child will begin to navigate whether or not, yes, this is something that I think I want to, to continue on and progress to the next stage, or no, it's not something that I want to do. I want to try something else. And if that's the case, that's totally fine. That's an age where you can try so many different sports and try different things because you're not tied down to one thing. So that's it. Just let your kids just have fun, be kids. Simple as that.
Great advice. Yeah, because I always say I've got 2 4-year-olds, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So my 2 4-year-olds, I know, all girls as well. So they're going to rule the world. Yeah. But now I'm starting to think about the 2 4-year-olds, putting them in, football camp.
Right.
Because my mate, he actually does really well with the kids. Obviously, they can't like concentrate for more than like 15, 20 minutes, but he does the little football with them, but then also kind of brings little games into it as well,
right.
that keeps them interested. but yeah, I just think, like you just said, a kid needs to be a kid. You know, once that kid stops smiling or having fun, you know, you need to start looking at the parents, which is sad. Yeah, you just, you know, let them do what they want. You know,
Exactly.
Like I actually saw two sisters who were playing, and then all of a sudden they just wanted to hold hands in the middle of the field. It was brilliant. They didn't care about the ball. They were just like, hey. And the dad was like, come on, kick. And they were like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, come on, they're 7 years old. They're sisters. They don't care. I was just like, that's what you want to see, just smiling kids. So that
exactly.
This has been an eye opener, you know. Like, you know, Steve told me, I think it was like about a month ago that he knew you, and you know, we've been so busy with everything, but we definitely wanted to get you on, and because anybody who has ever played for Liverpool Football Club is a hero, you know. Whether it be, I mean, you've played for the team I've supported all my life. You know, so it is an honour, you know, whether you play 1 season, 4 seasons, 10 seasons, whether you're, you know, a woman, a man, or a, you know, academy graduate. That's amazing to me. So I'm honoured you came on. I really am.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and it's been an honor. And you know, I love things like this. I love speaking about things like this because I want people to understand that. Yes, women's football has a long way to go, but it's also come a really long way as well too. And it's only going to continue to keep getting better from here on out. And my biggest advice is watch the WSL when they get back. If you are in America and want to watch some soccer, NWSL Challenge Cup is on right now. Some of the best players in all of America and all of the world are playing in this cup, and that's that. But I want to continue to keep plugging women's soccer, women's football, and I love telling my story about my time at Liverpool because it is a part of me that I love the most because those 4 years really shaped me into being the person that I am today. So I can't thank the city of Liverpool and the club itself for making my time out there as special as it was. So thank you.
We appreciate you coming on, and tell your mom I said hello. And
I will.
We wish you all the best on the upcoming season. Hope you latch on to a new team real soon, and then please keep us posted on your progress.
Yeah, tell your mom. Tell your mom Liverpool 2, Spurs 0.
Okay. I will tell her that just to piss her off. Most definitely.
Just remind her when's the last time Spurs won a trophy.
She probably doesn't even know, honestly. So I will definitely let her.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and
thank you for having me.
Do appreciate it.
Of course.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right. Thank you too. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.